What would you do if a giant shark suddenly came for you? Would you fight back or would you disappear beneath the waves? From shark cage dives gone wrong to family vacations that turn into nightmares, these scary shark attack stories show how fast the ocean can change. One moment, the water is calm and safe. The next, it's a fight to survive. Whether it's a child pulled from a boat, a diver's last moments underwater, or a desperate battle against a powerful predator, these stories prove that when a shark attacks, there's no time to think, only time to survive. On June 15, 2024, the Davis family was enjoying a perfect sunny afternoon aboard their small family boat off the coast of Monterey Bay, California. The gentle waves sparkled beneath the clear sky, and seabirds circled overhead. It was exactly the type of day the family loved spending together. 12-year-old Emily Davis was particularly excited. She had just finished 6th grade, earning a special award for her excellent grades. Emily loved animals, especially dolphins, and dreamed of becoming a marine biologist someday. Her room at home was filled with books about ocean creatures, colorful drawings, and models of dolphins and whales. Emily was bright, cheerful, and always curious about the sea. Emily's father, Mark Davis, 40, worked as an auto mechanic in Santa Cruz. He had taught Emily how to swim when she was 4. Mark loved the water, and the two often went snorkeling together. Her mother, Laura Davis, 38, was a nurse at a local hospital. Laura spent most of her free time gardening or reading books, but enjoyed their family weekend boat trips. Emily's younger brother, Ben, who was 9, liked watching dolphins and collecting shells. The family was close-knit, always looking forward to their weekend adventures. The boat was anchored about half a mile from shore. Emily sat at the boat's edge, letting her feet dangle into the cool water. She laughed as fish swam close, occasionally splashing her toes. Ben, sitting beside her, watched the ocean eagerly. Everything seemed calm until suddenly the water beneath them moved strangely. The fish quickly scattered, disappearing in an instant. Emily paused, confused by the sudden quietness of the ocean. Without any warning, a massive 17-foot great white shark surged upward, its jaws opening wide as it bit violently into Emily's leg, slicing deeply into her skin and muscle. Blood immediately stained the water as the powerful shark dragged her from the boat, pulling her under. Mark and Laura stood up quickly, their eyes wide with terror. Mark jumped into action without thinking. He grabbed a rope kept at the side of the boat and threw it desperately into the water near where Emily had vanished. Seconds passed like hours. Emily finally surfaced, gasping for air, thrashing weakly. Her leg was bleeding badly, torn and severely injured by the shark's powerful bite. She reached for the rope, her fingers gripping it tightly as Mark pulled with all his strength. The shark circled again, but Mark refused to let go. With a strong pull, he managed to lift Emily onto the deck. She lay on the boat, crying from pain, her leg seriously injured and covered in blood. The ocean was still, and no sign of the shark remained. Laura quickly began trying to stop the bleeding, wrapping her daughter's leg tightly with towels. Ben watched, frozen with shock, as Mark frantically radioed for help. The ocean turned from joy to terror and sadness in moments. Emily lay quietly, shaking from shock as her family desperately waited for rescue. The rescue boat arrived quickly, racing toward the Davis family ship. Paramedics carefully lifted Emily onto their vessel, immediately treating her serious wounds. Emily's leg was badly damaged, torn deeply from the shark's powerful bite. She remained awake but weak, losing blood quickly. Mark and Laura held each other tightly, comforting Ben as they watched their daughter being treated. Their happy day had become a painful nightmare. Emily was rushed to a nearby hospital in Monterey, where doctors began immediate surgery. At the hospital, news spread quickly. Friends and neighbors gathered, hoping and praying for Emily's recovery. Doctors worked for hours, carefully repairing the damage caused by the shark. Emily survived, but the injury to her leg was severe. Surgeons told her parents that she would need many months of physical therapy before she could walk again. The attack shocked everyone along the California coast. The beaches nearby quickly posted new signs warning about sharks. Local officials spoke on television reminding people to be alert while enjoying the ocean. Shark experts explained that great white sharks often live near the area, but attacks were still very rare. They believed the shark had mistaken Emily for a seal or other prey. After the accident, Emily spent weeks in the hospital. Her recovery was long, but her spirit remained strong. Her family stayed by her every day, helping her through tough times. Emily continued reading her marine biology books, determined to learn more about sharks and the ocean. Mark felt deeply affected by what had happened. He struggled with memories of that frightening moment, haunted by thoughts of almost losing Emily. Still, he felt grateful that his quick actions had saved her life. In the community, people became more cautious around the ocean. Schools began teaching special classes on shark safety, helping kids understand how to stay safe while swimming. The beaches near Monterey Bay increased safety patrols, adding boats and lifeguards to watch carefully for any signs of danger. Emily eventually returned home, slowly adjusting to life after the attack. She had to use crutches initially, but her determination inspired everyone around her. People who heard her story sent letters, cards, and gifts, offering support. Her courage strengthened her family and community, bringing everyone closer together. Months later, Emily stood proudly at the beach again. Though she no longer entered the water, she had become an advocate for shark safety, telling others about her experience and teaching them to respect and understand these powerful ocean creatures. Life had changed forever for the Davis family, but through the fear and pain, they found strength in each other. Emily's terrifying experience reminded everyone how quickly happiness could turn to tragedy, but it also showed how courage, love, and community support could help heal even the deepest wounds. The ocean continued to move gently, unchanged, but thanks to Emily's brave story, it was filled with caution and awareness. On March 15, 2023, the clear blue waters surrounding the Maldives glistened brightly under the morning sun. The calm ocean gently washed against small islands scattered along the horizon. Beneath the surface lay a world of colorful coral reefs, tropical fish, and mysterious underwater caves waiting to be explored. Jason Morrow, a 31-year-old diver from Sydney, Australia, prepared to dive into these beautiful waters with his friends. Jason had been diving since he was a teenager, and his love for the ocean began early in life. Growing up near the coast, he spent weekends snorkeling and exploring underwater life. He quickly became skilled, earning advanced certifications and becoming a professional diving instructor. His friends admired his bravery, kindness, and calm nature underwater. Jason had traveled to many places known for diving, including the Great Barrier Reef in the Caribbean, but the Maldives had always been his dream destination. This trip finally brought Jason, 3 close friends, and a local dive guide to explore the rich marine life near the Maldives' famous Ari Atoll. They had been diving together all week, photographing colorful fish, turtles, and manta rays. It was perfect, and Jason felt relaxed and happy. That day, they chose a popular dive site known for its clear waters and plenty of wildlife. Jason checked his diving gear carefully, always cautious and prepared. He and his friends jumped into the warm water, slowly descending toward the vibrant coral reef below. The underwater world was stunning. Bright-colored fish swam lazily around coral formations, and small sharks appeared far in the distance, moving slowly and peacefully. Jason felt comfortable and safe, gently swimming ahead, guiding his friends around colorful fish and coral. Then, a large shadow appeared near them. It was a tiger shark, easily recognizable by its striped markings. At first, the shark circled slowly, calmly gliding through the water. Jason and his friends watched carefully but did not feel afraid. They knew sharks often swam past divers without harming them. However, this shark began behaving differently. Its movements became faster, more unpredictable. Jason felt uneasy, watching closely as it suddenly changed direction and came directly toward him. Everything happened very fast. The shark lunged forward, opening its powerful jaws and biting into Jason's torso. Sharp teeth easily tore through his diving suit, slicing his skin and causing serious injuries instantly. Jason felt sharp pain as the shark shook him violently. Blood quickly filled the water, surrounding him in a thick cloud. His friends froze in fear, shocked at the sudden, brutal attack. Their hearts raced as they desperately swam toward Jason, waving their arms and trying to scare the shark away. The predator ignored them at first, continuing to thrash Jason's injured body back and forth. Jason was losing strength quickly. His vision blurred, and he struggled to breathe through the pain and shock. The shark finally let go, leaving Jason floating motionless in the blood-filled water. Jason's friends grabbed him quickly, pulling him upward toward the surface. The shark stayed nearby, still circling aggressively, watching closely as they tried to save their friend. They rushed upward toward the safety of their boat, carrying Jason's limp body between them. When they finally broke the surface, Jason's injuries were visible. His torso was severely wounded, bleeding heavily. His face was pale, his eyes closed tightly from shock. As the boat approached quickly, the divers shouted urgently for help. Its crew prepared to pull them from the water. The crew moved fast back on board, wrapping Jason in towels to slow the bleeding. Everyone could see how serious the attack had been. His friends stared helplessly, knowing the situation was dire. Jason lay still as the boat sped toward the shore, breathing weakly. His friends silently prayed he would survive, even as they felt terrified by the shark's sudden and deadly attack. The peaceful ocean now seemed dangerous and unpredictable, forever changed in their minds. The boat raced back toward shore, its engine loud against the quiet sea. Jason lay on the deck, barely moving. His breathing was faint and uneven. His friends knelt around him, fear clear in their eyes. They tried their best to stop the bleeding, using towels and whatever else they could find. On the beach, emergency workers waited anxiously. As soon as the boat arrived, they carried Jason onto a stretcher, rushing him to a waiting ambulance. The shark's bite had caused deep wounds across his torso, leaving severe injuries. Blood continued soaking through the towels as medics worked quickly. At the local hospital, doctors and nurses hurried Jason into surgery. The injuries were serious, and everyone knew time was running out. His friends waited quietly in a nearby room, hoping for good news. The minutes felt like hours as they sat together, silent and afraid. Outside the hospital, news spread quickly about the shark attack. Other divers and island tourists heard the story and began asking questions. Shark attacks were uncommon in this area. Many wondered how something like this could happen in such peaceful waters. Soon, news crews gathered near the hospital entrance, eager to hear updates about Jason's condition. The doctors worked hard, trying everything they could to save Jason's life, but his injuries were too severe, and despite all their efforts, Jason died from blood loss. The news spread quickly, leaving his friends and family devastated. Jason's death deeply affected the small diving community in the Maldives. People who had known him shared stories of his kindness and love for the ocean. Other divers became frightened, unsure if the waters were safe anymore. Experts debated why the shark had attacked so suddenly, wondering if something unusual had caused its aggression. Local authorities promised to investigate further. Soon after, they placed warning signs along beaches and advised divers to be cautious. Shark experts arrived to study why this attack happened, hoping to prevent something similar. In Jason's hometown of Sydney, Australia, friends and family held a quiet memorial by the ocean he loved. They shared stories about his life, his courage, and his kindness. His parents spoke about how diving had always brought Jason happiness, though now it had taken him away forever. After Jason was attacked in the Maldives, the area became a place people avoided. Tourists canceled diving trips, and businesses worried about their future. Some dive operators temporarily shut down, scared that something like this might happen again. Others demanded new safety rules and better protection for divers. Marine safety officials announced stricter diving rules, including more training for guides and more careful planning of dive locations. They hoped these measures would keep everyone safer, though no rule could bring Jason back. His friends struggled deeply with guilt and sadness. They replayed the attack repeatedly in their minds, wondering if they could have done something differently. Some could no longer dive, feeling too scared to return to the water. Months passed slowly, but the memory of Jason's attack remained fresh. The community never forgot how suddenly their peaceful dive had turned deadly. New divers arriving at the Maldives learned about the attack, reminding them always to respect the ocean and its hidden dangers. Over time, the fear faded slightly, though no one ever fully forgot. Dive shops set warnings, reminding visitors about shark safety. Families became more careful, knowing how quickly a fun day could turn tragic. Jason's loss changed the community forever. His memory became a lesson, teaching others about caution and respect for nature. Even though the ocean looked calm and safe, danger could always appear without warning beneath the surface. On May 10, 2023, the waters near Fort Lauderdale, Florida, sparkled under the warm afternoon sun. Gentle waves rocked a small fishing boat about a mile off the coastline. It was a peaceful day, ideal for relaxing and catching fish. Aboard the boat was Brian Walker, a 40-year-old fisherman from Fort Lauderdale. Brian had spent nearly his entire life near the ocean. Growing up in Florida, he learned to fish from his father, who owned a small bait and tackle shop. Brian spent hours casting lines into the sea as a young boy, hoping for a big catch. Fishing wasn't just a hobby, It was Brian's passion. He knew the ocean better than anyone else in his community. Friends often called Brian for advice on the best fishing spots, knowing he could always lead them to the perfect place. He loved teaching others about fishing and marine life, often volunteering to teach local children how to fish safely. Brian had a wife and 2 young children who often joined him on fishing trips. But on this particular afternoon, Brian had decided to fish with 2 close friends, Mark and Stephen. They had planned this trip for weeks, looking forward to spending a few quiet hours together away from their busy lives. The afternoon started well. The friends joked and laughed as they set up their fishing gear. Brian prepared his fishing rod, carefully attaching the bait. He smiled as he cast his line into the calm, clear water, watching it sink below the surface. It seemed like just another perfect day, but beneath the surface, danger waited. Without any warning, a large shadow moved swiftly beneath the boat. Brian noticed a sudden splash nearby but didn't see anything unusual. He calmly continued fishing, his eyes fixed on his line, waiting patiently for a bite. Suddenly, the calm atmosphere changed into chaos. At least 12 feet long, a huge hammerhead shark lunged upward from beneath the water. Its powerful jaws closed violently around Brian's leg, digging deep into his flesh and muscle. Brian yelled in pain and shock, dropping his fishing rod into the ocean. Mark and Stephen jumped to their feet, frozen momentarily by the sudden and terrifying attack. They watched helplessly as Brian struggled against the shark, gripping the side of the boat tightly, trying desperately to stay on board. But the hammerhead shark was stronger, yanking Brian with enormous force. Unable to hold on any longer, Brian slipped overboard into the water. His friends screamed and rushed to grab him, but he quickly disappeared below the surface. Underwater, Brian fought desperately, kicking and punching at the shark, but the hammerhead held tight, its teeth tearing deeper into his injured leg. Blood clouded the water, making it impossible for Brian to see. Above, his friends panicked, searching for any sign of their friend. Brian briefly resurfaced, coughing and gasping for air. Mark and Stephen reached out, stretching as far as they could, hoping to grab his hands. But in an instant, the shark attacked again, biting violently into Brian's torso and pulling him back beneath the waves. The water around the boat turned bright red, spreading quickly across the surface. Mark and Stephen stared in disbelief and horror. They called desperately for help on the radio, their voices panicked. But Brian was already gone, pulled deep beneath the surface by the powerful predator. Minutes felt like hours as they waited, hoping Brian might somehow escape. But he never resurfaced. The ocean around them was calm again, as if nothing had happened. The friends sat in silence, filled with fear and grief, waiting helplessly for rescue boats to arrive. Below, hidden in the dark ocean, the shark vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind only fear and unanswered questions. Rescue boats quickly arrived at the scene, sirens loud against the quiet ocean. Emergency crews searched carefully, scanning the waves for any sign of Brian. His friends, Mark and Stephen, sat silently on their boat, their faces pale and full of sadness. They watched the rescuers move quickly, hoping for a miracle. After hours of searching, divers finally found Brian. His body was floating silently beneath the surface, showing clear and fatal bite wounds on his leg and torso. The rescuers gently brought him aboard their boat, carefully covering him with a white cloth. The tragic news quickly spread, reaching Brian's family and the entire Fort Lauderdale community. When Brian's family heard what had happened, they were devastated. His wife, Laura, felt as if her world had suddenly ended. His 2 young children, Emily and Jack, struggled to understand the painful truth. They would never see their father again, join him on another fishing trip, or hear his laughter fill their home. The community shared the family's deep sadness. Friends gathered around Laura and the children, offering comfort and support. Brian was remembered fondly as someone who always helped others. His love for fishing and teaching made him well known and respected throughout Fort Lauderdale. The tragic shark attack also raised many questions about safety. Local fishermen became nervous, unsure if their homes' waters were safe. Shark attacks, especially by hammerheads, were very rare in the area. People wanted to understand why this attack had happened and how to prevent future incidents. Marine experts explained that hammerhead sharks usually avoided humans. Attacks often happen by mistake, with the shark thinking a person is food. They suggested the shark might have chased fish near Brian's boat, causing the sudden and aggressive attack. Even though experts tried to explain, people remained frightened. Local authorities quickly reacted. New warning signs were placed along beaches and popular fishing spots, clearly marking shark sightings. Fishermen received safety advice, reminding them to stay alert while fishing offshore. Schools began teaching children about ocean safety, hoping to avoid more tragedies. For months, Brian's family and friends struggled to accept his loss. The space he left in their lives could never be filled. His children often visited the ocean, standing quietly by the shore, remembering their father. Laura became active in teaching others about fishing safety, trying to protect other families from feeling her pain. Over time, people began returning to the ocean. Fishermen slowly regained confidence, understanding that shark attacks, though terrible, were very uncommon. But no one in Fort Lauderdale ever forgot Brian Walker. A small memorial was placed near the shore, reminding everyone of his kindness and passion for fishing. Brian's story became a lesson for the community. It taught respect for nature and the ocean's hidden dangers. Even though life moved forward, Brian's memory remained strong, a reminder to always stay alert and careful in the waters he loved so much. On June 12, 2023, the sun shone brightly over Coco Beach, Florida. It was a perfect summer day with gentle waves washing onto the shore. Families gathered, enjoying the soft sand and clear, shallow water. Laughter filled the air as children played near the shoreline, chasing beach balls and splashing happily. Among the crowd was Ryan Mitchell, a cheerful 16-year-old from Orlando, Florida. Ryan loved sports and spent most of his free time outdoors. At school, he was known as a talented soccer player, always smiling and making friends easily. His family often visited Coco Beach, enjoying relaxing weekends by the ocean. Ryan was at the beach with his parents and younger sister, Emily. They had arrived early, setting up their towels and umbrellas near the water. Ryan quickly joined other teenagers in a friendly beach game, tossing a colorful beach ball back and forth. The game moved closer to the shoreline, where the water was only waist deep. Ryan laughed as the ball bounced away, landing a short distance ahead. He chased after it, running into the shallow water. He didn't notice anything unusual, just the clear ocean shimmering in the sunlight. But beneath the peaceful waves, danger was approaching fast. Suddenly, the calm day turned terrifying. A large 7-foot bull shark appeared from beneath, lunging toward Ryan with surprising speed. Its powerful jaws closed tightly around his leg, biting deeply into his flesh. Ryan screamed in pain, losing his balance and falling into the water. People on the shore heard Ryan's cries, turning quickly to see what had happened. Parents stood frozen in shock, watching helplessly as the attack unfolded. Ryan's mother screamed, running toward the water. The shark thrashed violently, pulling Ryan deeper beneath the waves. Blood filled the water, quickly spreading around him. Ryan fought desperately, punching and kicking the shark with all his strength. His struggles finally caused the shark to loosen its grip, and Ryan broke free. He rose to the surface, gasping for air, weak from the attack. Nearby swimmers rushed to help him, grabbing his arms and pulling him toward the safety of the shore. Ryan's body trembled from shock and fear as he was carried quickly out of the bloody water. Once safely on land, Ryan's severe injuries were clear. His leg was badly torn, deep wounds visible as blood soaked the sand around him. People quickly wrapped his wounds, calling urgently for help. Ryan's family surrounded him, their faces pale with panic and fear. Emergency vehicles raced to the beach, sirens loud and lights flashing brightly. Paramedics lifted Ryan carefully onto a stretcher, working quickly to control the bleeding. His family watched helplessly, unsure if their son would survive. As Ryan was rushed to the hospital, beachgoers stared at the quiet ocean. The peaceful summer day had become a nightmare. The shallow waters, once a place of joy, were filled with fear and uncertainty. Ryan's fight for life had just begun, and everyone waited anxiously to learn if he would survive. Doctors hurried to help him at the hospital, knowing every second mattered. His leg was badly injured, with deep bite marks and torn muscles. Nurses carefully cleaned his wounds while doctors worked to stop the bleeding. Outside the operating room, Ryan's family waited nervously. His mother and father held hands tightly, afraid of losing their son. Hours passed slowly as doctors performed surgery, trying their best to repair the damage. Friends and neighbors arrived at the hospital, offering comfort and support. Finally, the doctors came to speak with Ryan's parents. They explained that Ryan had survived, but the attack had caused serious injuries. He would need months of therapy and multiple surgeries to regain full use of his leg. The family felt relief knowing Ryan was alive, even as they understood the difficult journey ahead. News of Ryan's attack quickly spread through Coco Beach and nearby towns. Local families felt scared, wondering if the shallow waters were safe. Parents worried about their children playing near the shoreline. People began avoiding the beach, fearful of another attack. Marine experts spoke publicly, explaining that bull sharks often swim near shore. They warned swimmers to be careful and watchful, especially near the shore. Soon after, lifeguards at Coco Beach put up new signs, clearly warning visitors about the possible dangers in shallow water. At home, Ryan slowly began recovering. His leg healed very slowly and walking was difficult. Friends from school visited often, cheering him up and keeping him company. But emotionally, Ryan struggled greatly. He had nightmares about sharks, frequently waking up frightened and unable to sleep again. His love for sports faded, replaced by anxiety and fear. The ocean, once a place he loved, now terrified him. He refused to return to the beach, unable even to look at pictures of water without feeling sick. Ryan's wounds healed physically as months passed, but the emotional scars stayed deep. His parents arranged for him to see a counselor, hoping it would help him deal with his fears. Slowly, talking about the attack made Ryan feel stronger. He began understanding what happened and learned ways to cope with his memories. Over time, Ryan grew braver. He shared his story at local schools, warning other children to stay alert at the beach. He helped the community understand the importance of ocean safety. People admired his strength and courage, inspired by his ability to recover after such a frightening event. The community around Coco Beach became more cautious but also more informed. Families listened closely to safety warnings and were careful when swimming in shallow waters. Ryan's story reminded everyone of the hidden dangers of the sea, teaching everyone to respect the ocean. Ryan never fully returned to his old self, forever changed by the shark attack. Though his leg healed, the fear of the ocean stayed with him. Yet, through sharing his experience, he found a new purpose. His painful story helped protect others, turning a terrifying day into a meaningful lesson for an entire community. On January 9, 2022, the ocean near Guadalupe Island, Mexico, was calm. A gentle breeze blew softly across the clear blue water. The island is famous for shark cage diving, attracting tourists worldwide who want to see great white sharks up close. Among those tourists was Eric Lawson, a 28-year-old schoolteacher from Austin, Texas. Eric had always loved adventure. He enjoyed hiking, skydiving, and exploring new places. Friends described him as friendly and fearless, who never backed down from exciting experiences. He had come to Mexico with his girlfriend Sarah and two close friends, hoping for an unforgettable vacation. Eric and his friends booked their dive trip months earlier, excited to see great white sharks safely from inside a metal cage. The diving company assured them it was safe, explaining that tourists worldwide visited without problems yearly. On the morning of their dive, the boat traveled several miles offshore to reach the best shark watching area. Eric laughed and joked with his friends, thrilled as he prepared for the dive. The crew carefully explained safety instructions, reminding everyone to remain calm inside the cage. Soon, Eric put on his diving gear and stepped into the metal cage. The cage slowly lowered into the ocean, gently rising bubbles around it. Eric felt his excitement grow as he waited beneath the waves, eager to spot his first shark. His friends watched from the boat, taking photos and smiling happily. A few moments later, the first shark appeared. It was enormous, nearly 17 feet long, swimming slowly nearby. Eric watched in awe, amazed by the shark's power and beauty. The shark circled quietly at first, calmly swimming around the cage without showing aggression. But suddenly, everything changed. The great white shark turned sharply and swam fast toward the cage without warning. Eric felt his heart race and suddenly felt nervous. The shark moved with incredible speed, heading straight for him. The cage shook violently as the massive shark rammed into it with great force. The impact was so powerful that the metal bars bent slightly, creating a small opening. Eric's eyes widened with fear. He had no time to move or think clearly. In an instant, the shark forced its huge body through the gap in the cage. Eric tried to back away, but the cage was too small, and the shark's powerful jaws closed tightly onto his leg, biting deeply into his flesh. Water filled with blood quickly, surrounding Eric as he struggled desperately. Above the surface, crew members saw the cage shaking violently. They immediately realized something was wrong. They rushed to raise the cage, pulling frantically at the ropes. Below, Eric fought hard, pushing against the shark. The predator thrashed wildly, shaking Eric like a toy, causing severe injuries to his leg. Eric reached out, hoping the cage would rise faster. But the shark was stronger, pulling Eric into the dark depths below. The cage rose quickly, breaking the water surface, but Eric was no longer inside. Everyone stared in horror, realizing Eric had disappeared beneath the waves. Crew members quickly began searching the water, desperate to find Eric. They shouted, scanning the waves. Eric's friends stood frozen in shock, unable to believe what had happened. Sarah began to cry softly, feeling helpless and terrified. Divers jumped into the ocean, looking frantically beneath the surface. Boats circled the area carefully, crews hoping for any sign of Eric. Minutes passed slowly, each one feeling longer than the last. But Eric was nowhere to be found. After nearly 2 hours, rescue divers discovered Eric's diving gear, damaged and floating alone. Eric's body was never found, lost forever in the deep ocean. Everyone realized sadly that Eric had died, dragged beneath the waves by the powerful shark. The tragic news spread quickly. Eric's family in Texas received the heartbreaking call, feeling their world collapse. His parents struggled to accept their son's sudden loss, grieving deeply for the adventurous and cheerful young man they loved so much. The diving company faced serious safety concerns. Authorities began investigating and demanding answers about how the cage failed. They studied the metal cage carefully, finding it had bent under the shark's powerful force, something no one thought possible. Soon, other tourists canceled their shark dives, feeling afraid after hearing Eric's story. Local businesses suffered as visitors avoided cage diving trips altogether. People around the world learned of the tragedy and were shocked that such an adventure could turn deadly so quickly. Marine experts explained how unusual it was for a shark to enter a cage. They believed the great white shark acted aggressively because it felt trapped and scared. Despite these explanations, fear grew, making tourists nervous about entering shark-filled waters. Eric's friends returned home, forever changed by what they had witnessed. Sarah especially felt deeply shaken, haunted by memories of Eric's final moments. She sought counseling, struggling with sadness and nightmares about sharks. Her love for adventure disappeared completely. Months passed, but Eric's tragic death was never forgotten. Safety rules changed, with diving companies using stronger cages and stricter guidelines to protect tourists. Eric's story became a powerful reminder of the dangers beneath the ocean's surface. Back home in Austin, Eric's family created a memorial in his honor. Friends and neighbors visited regularly, sharing stories of Eric's kindness, humor, and love for life. His parents hoped the memorial would remind others always to be careful, even when seeking excitement. Over time, tourists slowly returned to cage diving, though more cautiously. Eric's death shows clearly how unpredictable nature can be. Visitors to Guadalupe Island remembered Eric's story, treating sharks with more respect and caution. Although Eric is gone, his story helped make diving safer for others. People learned important lessons about respect, caution, and preparation. The ocean remained beautiful, but Eric's story taught everyone how quickly joy could become tragedy. He was remembered not just for his bravery, but also for the lasting impact he had on ocean safety, protecting others from facing the same terrifying end. On August 5, 2024, the Lopez family arrived on the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii, excited for their vacation. Carlos and Maria Lopez, in their mid-30s, had planned this trip carefully. They hoped to show their two young children, Sofia, 8, and Diego, 10, the wonders of the ocean. Carlos worked as a firefighter in Los Angeles, and Maria was a nurse. Both loved adventure and were strong swimmers. They wanted their children to share their passion for nature and water sports. This vacation was their first trip to Hawaii, and the family eagerly planned each day's activities. On their second day, the family decided to snorkel near Honolulu Bay, a popular and safe spot known for colorful fish and coral reefs. The ocean was calm and clear, perfect for beginners. Carlos and Maria helped their children wear life jackets and snorkel gear and taught them to breathe underwater through their masks. The water felt warm and gentle. Soon, the family floated peacefully above the reef, amazed by the brightly colored fish swimming beneath them. Sofia and Diego laughed, pointing excitedly at turtles and starfish. Carlos and Maria stayed close, enjoying seeing their children so happy. But their splashing and playful movements caught the attention of a large shadow lurking nearby. Below, a massive 14-foot tiger shark moved silently closer, drawn to the noise. Unaware of the danger beneath them, the family continued swimming peacefully, enjoying their experience. Suddenly, the calm water turned violent. Without warning, the huge tiger shark lunged upward, biting deeply into Maria's leg. Maria screamed in pain and fear as sharp teeth tore through her skin and muscles. Blood quickly filled the water around her. Carlos instantly saw the attack. Without thinking, he dove toward his injured wife, desperate to save her. He punched and kicked fiercely at the shark, trying to force it to let go. The shark, now enraged, released Maria's injured leg but quickly turned its attention to Carlos. It bit aggressively, tearing deeply into Carlos's side and causing severe wounds. Sofia and Diego screamed in panic, watching helplessly as their parents fought against the powerful predator. Ignoring her intense pain, Maria saw a spear floating nearby. dropped earlier by another snorkeler. Summoning all her strength, she reached for the spear, gripping it tightly. Despite her injuries, Maria thrust the spear at the shark, desperately trying to drive it away. Carlos struggled in pain, his wounds bleeding heavily into the water. The shark continued attacking aggressively, but Maria did not give up. Finally, after several determined strikes from Maria's spear, the shark swam away. The water around the family remained red from their injuries, and the children cried uncontrollably. Carlos and Maria, severely injured, struggled to stay afloat, holding on to each other and their children. They knew they needed help quickly or they might not survive. In moments, nearby swimmers rushed to their aid, pulling them carefully toward the shore. The peaceful vacation had suddenly become a desperate fight for survival. The lifeguards quickly carried Carlos and Maria onto the sand on the shore. Both had severe injuries from the shark's bites, Maria's leg deeply wounded and Carlos's side badly torn. The children cried nearby, frightened and unsure if their parents would survive. Paramedics rushed quickly onto the beach, carefully treating their wounds. Carlos and Maria were taken immediately to the nearest hospital. Doctors hurried to save their lives, working hard to repair the extensive damage caused by the shark's powerful jaws. Carlos had deep wounds on his side and chest, requiring immediate surgery. Maria's leg was badly injured, needing several hours of emergency care to stop heavy bleeding. Friends and family in Los Angeles received the shocking news and quickly flew to Hawaii to support the children. The Lopez family's terrifying encounter soon became national news. People across Hawaii and the United States felt shock and fear. Many questioned the safety of snorkeling and swimming near protected reefs. The attack raised concerns, as tiger shark attacks were rare, especially in calm, shallow waters. Marine experts studied the incident closely. They explained that tiger sharks were known to patrol near reefs, hunting fish and turtles. Experts believed the shark had mistaken Maria for prey, causing the unexpected and aggressive attack. Despite the explanations, tourists began avoiding snorkeling tours, afraid to enter previously safe waters. After weeks in the hospital, Carlos and Maria slowly recovered. Both survived their frightening encounter but were left with lasting scars. Maria's leg injury was severe, leaving her with a permanent limp and difficulty walking. Carlos faced months of therapy due to deep wounds on his torso. The emotional impact on the family was even greater. Returning home to Los Angeles, the family struggled to move forward. Carlos and Maria found themselves afraid of the ocean they once loved. Their children had nightmares, often waking in fear from dreams about sharks. The peaceful memories they hoped to create in Hawaii became a haunting reminder of their terrifying experience. To help cope, Maria began sharing their story publicly. She visited local schools, warning families about ocean safety and reminding children to stay alert when swimming. Carlos joined his wife, encouraging beach safety and awareness programs. Their experiences inspired the community. Soon, stronger safety rules were established along Hawaiian beaches. Lifeguards monitored waters more closely and provided clearer warnings about shark sightings. Snorkeling companies educated visitors carefully, hoping to prevent similar tragedies. Despite their fear, the family found strength in each other. They chose not to let the shark attack define their lives. Carlos and Maria focused on protecting others by sharing their experience and knowledge. Slowly, their children regained trust and comfort around water, though caution remained strong. Over time, the Lopez family healed, though never fully. The memories of that terrible afternoon remained clear. They learned to appreciate each day, grateful they survived the frightening attack. The shark changed their lives forever and gave them new strength to educate others, preventing future heartbreak for families enjoying the ocean.